You know, the automotive aftermarket is a huge industry. It pulls in billions of dollars a year. But with all the stuff that's out there to do to your vehicle, I bet you can't tell me the #1 modification that people are doing. I mean, is it engine? Is it wheels? Is it tires, exhaust, stereo? What do you think? Well, those are all good guesses. But the #1 modification is actually a lot simpler than that. It is modifying your air intake and your filter. Now, some of you are probably thinking, an air filter? Why? Why is that so popular? Well, it's pretty simple. The engine is really nothing more than a big air pump. The better it blows air in and out, the better it's going to run. And a performance air filter will not only give you more power, it can give you better mileage, and it looks great when you pop the hood, and really good if you're not using a hood at all. But this modification didn't just appear a few years ago. No, it's been around since almost the beginning with a very unique story all its own. Let's check it out.
Ready, set, go and go. I got a gal that I love so.
Back about the time that Elvis started shaking things up on the Ed Sullivan Show and rock and roll began exploding across the airwaves, hot rodders began to realize that the more stuff you stripped off of a car, the faster it went. And the stock air filter was one of the first things thrown in the trash before you did any kind of racing. However, it didn't take long to realize that running an engine without an air filter would kill that engine very quickly. So, aftermarket filters slowly began to trickle into the market. Unfortunately, these early filters just had an open paper element. Now, they flowed better than your stock filter. They didn't last very long, about 3 months, unless, of course, you got one wet, and then it lasts about 20 minutes. So, the racing world was in serious need of a performance filter. And that's when Kenny and Norm came along. Kenny and Norm were a couple of motorcycle racers that saw that need for a real performance filtering system, especially in off-road racing. So, in 1969, they put their heads and their names together to create K&N. And the first reusable filter, tough enough to survive the rigors of racing, was born. Now, the filter seems simple enough, with just some layers of a special cotton gauze, held in place with some metal mesh, and then impregnated with a special oil that would pull the dirt. Simple, right? Well, the results were anything but simple. They were astounding. And the automotive world went crazy because now they had a filter that outflowed everything, it outfiltered everything on the market, and it was cleanable, which means you could use this over and over and over again for literally 1,000,000 miles or more.
About 23, 24 years ago, when the applications started being made for the automotive side of the business, and we realized that A, the product not only was it such a good product, it was extremely durable, it replaced something that was disposable, and it became very apparent that these products not only would last a long time, but they'd last for the life of your vehicle. And so the number 1,000,000-mile warranty was basically picked because we believe and we have actual evidence that our products last that long.
Now, obviously, just making replacement filters was fine at first. But then, as vehicles got more sophisticated with fuel injection, things like that, people started asking for complete air intake systems because the stockers were so restrictive. The problem is, how do you build a system that you guarantee to go for 1,000,000 miles, fit like a factory piece, and still give the performance that you want to guarantee? Well, the answer is research and testing and more research and testing and then research and more testing.
We will not make an intake unless it makes horsepower. That is our guarantee. It will not be sold, it will not be developed. If it doesn't make the horsepower that we are totally happy with, it isn't going to be made.
Before any new kit hits the market, it's subject to numerous testing on the dyno and the flow benches, to make sure that it's not only going to flow well enough to deliver the horsepower increase that they're going to be happy with, but one that they can also guarantee that you will get when you put it on your rig.
What our guarantee is, when I tell you this is going to make 15 horsepower, they put on a dyno, it's going to make 15 horsepower.
Of course, one of the most important things about a filter is it's got to be able to filter. So how do you test that? Well, we're in K&N's filtration lab. This is where Corey hangs out. We're going to talk about this a little bit. Corey, tell us what goes on in here. How do you test the filtration of a filter?
Well, Stacey, the important part about the whole filtration testing is that there's a standardization which is called the ISO standard 5011, and that's a worldwide standard, and it's all done through metrics and grams and cubic meters and all metric system. So that way anything that we do here is the same worldwide. So if a test is done here versus a test that we maybe will could be comparing to over in Europe or whatever, it's all
so
the
it's
same.
universal.
Right,
Okay.
universal, yes.
Believe it or not, these guys actually buy dirt to run through their filters to see how effective they are. However, you know they've got some pretty sophisticated equipment to go along with that simple dirt to test these filters. But then again, some of their tools are not that sophisticated.
Anything after the test and during the test, we run that down the tube here, so that way you break anything free inside the tube there. Yeah, exactly. You're probably doing that behind me, aren't you?
A successful automotive project takes planning and organization. But instead of using an old tablet or notebook, there's the Gearz Deluxe Project Planning Book. This was designed to help you lay out a project, the parts, the tools, costs, and keep it organized with colored tabs, a pouch for receipts, and even a place to attach photos. If you decide to sell the vehicle, it serves as a complete history of what's been done. If you have a project or plan on starting one, the Gearz Project Planning Book is the best way to lay it out and make it happen.
Hey, welcome back to Gearz, where today we are taking a look at the unique world of the performance air filter through the eyes of one of the founding fathers, K&N Performance. Now, why is this important? Well, like I said before, it's the #1 modification that people are doing, whether they have a street machine or a bar stool or a hot rod or a 4x4 or a motorcycle. And if it is the #1 modification, how do you keep up with demand? Well, having a huge facility would help. Check it out. A lot has changed since 1969. Almost like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, the systems at K&N are all built and assembled in-house under tight security so no trade secrets can leak out. The products are continually being moved from assembly station to assembly station by a very cool conveyor system. And once they reach the end of the line, they're all done, packed up and sealed, and ready to ship out. And each box comes with its own version of a golden ticket.
It's one thing to stand behind your product with a 1,000,000-mile warranty. That's one thing, and that's very respectable to do. But to stand behind your consumer, to let them know that they're not going to be taken advantage of because you spent money on one of our filters, that's a whole different level. And that's what we need to do for this industry.
We all recognize the state of the economy and where we're at. You've got to give somebody something of value for the money that they spend. They work hard for their money, and that's the people that work at this company.
However, this is where the story makes a twist and ends up coming full circle, because we've already established that K&N's roots are in racing, and they've never forgotten that, because in their thinking, if you can cross the finish line first on the racetrack, doing it on the street is not a problem. You'll find K&N filters on cars running in the IRL and the Formula One series, NASCAR, sprint cars, and other circle track racing, drag racing of all types, off-road racing, Baja, you name it. And with their own race shop turning out incredible machines of their own, They're involved firsthand in a lot of these motorsports. But the one race that really defines what they're all about is the Silver State Classic in Nevada.
Where else can you get an opportunity to drag whatever it is you've got, what type of hot rod, whether it's high-tech European sports car model or a hot rod or whatever the vehicle is. There's guys out there in their daily drivers, and go out to an area in Nevada where they section off 93 miles on 318 and basically just let you see how fast you can go for 93 miles. So, I mean, name me another event like that.
Now, there is no question that a lot has changed over the last 40 years. And K&N has continued to evolve to keep up with the times, so now we've got choices. Nah. But what hasn't changed is their commitment to do whatever it takes to be the best.